We did have one question from Alvin asking, it was in regards to answer is undermining the Uhuru movement. Please explain what's up with that. I don't know, Chairman, if you wanted to. Okay, so what this is in reference to is a really important struggle that, and Chairwoman Penny, if you want to jump in on this as well.
I can jump in.
Okay, yes, Chairman.
Thank you. Who is the comrade who raised the question? Alvin. Yeah. I'll tell you what's up with that, Alvin. That the African People's Socialist Party and the Black is Back Coalition have been working for years to rebuild our movement for national liberation. And part of that has included, for the last 14 years, this would be the 15th one, a march on the White House every November. And this year, what we had determined is that we built an anti-colonial free speech movement that involved all kinds of colonial people who suffer colonial oppression, from Palestinians to Filipinos to Africans here, to various peoples around the world, to people like Venezuela, where the United States kidnapped a diplomat and actually threw him in prison illegally, that kind of thing. And then it also organized and brought into this relationship traditional, what we've characterized as white left organizations of various ideological persuasions. And that's from everyone who, from people who are characterized as Trotskyists, and some people characterized others as Stalinists and Leninists, et cetera. They've all come together, Maoists, just an incredible thing of working, marching against colonialism and demanding that the United States government drop the charges against the three of us in the Uhuru movement, which was a part of the attack on the people's struggle for colonialism everywhere around the world, and the role historically that the African People's Socialist Party has played in that. And at a critical moment in history, when peoples all around the world, and especially colonized people, are making increasing struggles against colonial domination. And so the federal government attacked my home, handcuffed me, my wife, attacked the Solidarity Center, attacked Uhuru House in St. Petersburg, Florida, another in St. Louis, in Missouri, where we're located, stole thousands of dollars worth of materials from us, destroyed property, et cetera, and accused us of working for Russia because we were demanding reparations, which is what this tribunal does, and which is what this mobilization does, because we were had initiated a process, or reinitiated a process of demanding people's support, calling on people to support the demand that the United States be taken before the United Nations for violation of the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. And because we had a different position, we opposed this war that the United States is waging against Russia, using both Russians and Ukrainians as fodder, cannon fodder for this struggle. So we were attacked for that. That's what happened. And so we said that this march also would demand dropping the charges, not only against us, but all of the other people, because after they attacked us, this was the canary in the coal mine. They were attacking movements all around the country. There some people in Atlanta, Georgia, the Stop Cop City, some 61 charges, federal indictments against them. You have people in Tampa, Florida, who've come under indictment because these are students, because they protested the governor's disallowing any Black history and things like that to be taught. These are some of the things that happened in the wake of what they did to us. And of course, they attacked us and opened the door on attacks for everybody. So we pulled together this incredible mobilization, recognizing that, calling for the release of all these people, the opposition to drop the charges against all these people, and to drop the charges against the three of us. That is to say, me, Comrades Penny Hess and Comrade Jesse Neville, who are charged with being Russian agents and could actually be sentenced up to 15 years in prison. So this is what this movement was about. And on the a week or so ago, or less, we saw something that the Answer Coalition, which exists under the leadership of the Party of Socialism and Liberation, as it calls itself, and Brian Becker, had decided they were going to do a mobilization on the same day at the same time that the mobilization and the same place initially that we had said we were going to have this demonstration. And the objective clearly was to overwhelm what we were doing, undermine it, and also to cause a split between the African community, African nation, and Palestinians. And by which I mean that what this white-led organization, this anti-Black organization, the People Party of Socialism and Liberation, and its offspring, Answer, what they were doing was saying that they were doing this march on November 4th on the same day, same place, same time, to support the Palestinian people because they were under such horrific attack. Of course, we unite with that. Of course, our coalition has been fighting and advancing the cause of the Palestinians since its inception almost. And we had already planned and put forth the liberation of the Palestinian people as demands that we were organizing and dealing with. So it was a traditional kind of opportunist move by this instance, the white left. In this instance, we're talking about the People Party of Socialism and Liberation. I hate saying that. And the Answer Coalition, when of course they don't have any answers at all. That's the only problem we have. And the thing is that part of what's happening is that they're trying to treat, they want custody of the overall definition and strategic trajectory of the struggle of people here. And the whole, not just the people here, I mean, in terms of national liberation struggles, they want control the definition and the trajectory of struggles against capitalism, et cetera, and even just for peace as they would characterize it. And we represented a problem for that because we said that the Black is Black Coalition was founded precisely because the traditional white-led peace anti-war movement did not speak to the issues of war that's being made against African people on a regular basis inside the United States and other places around the world, didn't speak to the encaged children on the border, southern border, et cetera, didn't speak to what was happening in the Philippines every day, and to, generally speaking, to Muslim and Arabs, some of whom are still locked up in occupied Cuba, in Guantanamo Bay. So we had to create an organization that spoke to the issue of peace, real peace. And because the fundamental question is colonialism and all the colonized people suffering these attacks, and sometimes inside the United States where there are concentration camps called Indian reservations and things like that. And so that's what we have succeeded in doing with the coalition and uniting the Black liberation movement. So the coalition was a response to the military defeat of the Black Revolution of the 1960s. It was a response to that, was part of the rebuilding process, pulling all of these forces together to advance the struggle for national liberation. So Answer may be having this territorial fights at best, you can say, with other people who are left-wing persons and left-wing organizations, who was going to have the most people to the demonstrations and who was going to demand the anti-war, who's going to command the anti-war movement. The Black is Back Coalition and the African People's Socialist Party, we are struggling for liberation. And this movement that we have in November was not to be the best, biggest, most successful peace demonstration, but to advance the struggle for the liberation of African people, just like Palestinians are fighting for liberation. And traditionally, we come under attack as the African People's Socialist Party precisely because we're doing that. And as a part of that attack, they've arrested people, et cetera. They burned church where we had under contract. We were putting an institution. The banks have actually sanctioned us and shut down our accounts and things like that. This is the kind of thing that's happening. Then what happens, of course, as a part of that trajectory, is that Answer and the Party of Liberation, Socialism and Liberation makes this attack. And they're part of the same trajectory, the same attack that we've been dealing with all along. So that's what's up with that. And it's a dishonest thing. If they were really interested in even supporting the Palestinian people, they would do what we do, which is make the struggle right here in the United States, because the United States is the entity that funds and the Israeli entity that's killing people on a regular basis and bombing. As we have this discussion, this stuff that's done by Brian Becker and Party of Socialism and Liberation, as they characterize themselves, and the non-answer. This thing that they are doing is facilitating that, facilitating ongoing aggression, attack, and murder of the people. They are facilitating the attack that's being made by the government on the African People's Socialist Party and the Hutu movement, and that's planning to put us in jail. This is what we're looking at, and that's what's up with that. If they were honest, they would have. If they even thought, they pretend we didn't know you were doing it. It's a lie. We've been working on this forever, and they knew it, and we sent information to leaders of their organization, even asking them to participate. We've been asking them to participate for many different years. They've never participated in any of these Black is Back mobilization. And the only time we heard from them around November 4th, when we asked them to participate, was when they said they was going to do a contending mobilization. So if they were really honest, if they really believed that the Palestinians was in such, that the state with the Palestinian people was such that they had to build this thing, they would have got in touch with us too and say, hey, let's get together and do the. They didn't. They didn't. They didn't say anything to us because it was contending with us. They were working, whether they intentioned or whatever Becker's intentions were, they facilitated the agenda of the federal government, United States government, to shut us up. So that the government would attack me because they want to shut us up, and they would attack November 4th because they want to shut us up. That's what we're looking at. That's what's up with that. If they were really honest, they would, all those buses that they say they're going to be sending to Washington, D.C. for their thing, ostensibly to support the Palestinians, which is what we're going to be doing anyway. They would make those buses available, accessible to Africans and others who are trying to get to November 4th, to make them drop the charges and to say that we're not making one step backwards. We're not making one step backwards. That's what the colonizers want us to do. That's what Becker and the party, this white anti-Black party of socialism and liberation wants us to do. That's what the non-answer wants us to do. We're not going to do that. So they could join us if they want to. They would turn those resources over to us like they should, and get out of the way. Uhuru. You know, this does relate, because the contradiction we're talking about, Comrade Akile, brilliantly talked about what democracy means and how the colonized have been made invisible. That's the nature of the social system. You see, the whole social system is born of our enslavement. The consciousness that has been achieved that we might characterize as white consciousness, European, American, French consciousness, it all came through that process. And so they view the world they were born, you see, they were born through the colonial project. Their brains and their assessments of the world born through the colonial process. So I'm looking at everybody, most people who are old enough and who've dealt with this question are familiar. What's this guy's name? Was it Martin Niemöller, the German Lutheran pastor, who made the statement, something to the effect, when they came for the trade unions, I did nothing because I was not a trade union. When they came for this group, I did nothing because I was not. And it was sort of a self-criticism. That was part of what he did. And he was also criticizing German intellectuals because of their stance on the question of Jews and the Holocaust. He said this in 1946. But between 1904 and 1908, when Jews were Germans, the same Niemöller, who never mentions this, but Germany attacked what they call Namibia. They committed genocide they almost wiped out the Herero, a number of people there in Namibia. Right. He doesn't mention that. Right. And the fact is, he could have said, when they came for the Herero in Southwest Africa, Namibia, I did nothing, and et cetera, but he didn't. Right. Because we don't exist in that way. The consciousness he can see what's happened to these white people, and that's a horrible thing, et cetera, and should have done something about that, but couldn't see us, couldn't see all of, and if you look at some of the same people who participated in the genocide against the Jews, military forces, they were in Namibia. The same thing that we're talking about they did to Jews, they did it first in Namibia, which is not too far from Uganda, which is what they were first wanted to make the Jewish state, you see? And of course, it would have been easier if they get rid of the Africans who lived there. They wouldn't have had to do the same kind of thing they're doing in Palestine right now. This is the kind of relationships that we're entangled with. And it's very difficult because it goes against everything that we've come to understand, because everything we come to understand is a consequence, is the product of a superstructure built off colonial slavery. The ideas, the institutions, the ideology, et cetera, that's where it comes from. Cultural things, even religious expression come from that. So it's hard for people to move from that, but we'll help you. Yeah, we'll help you. So the thing is, I really feel like the party solved the really fundamental contradictions of the revolution. I really feel that way. We have done that. We've taken that on. This whole question of the white people, the identification of peoples in a certain way that liquidate their location, in society, that their location in society, in the structures of societies, etc. I'm going to stop. I do want to make this point because many people recognize the existence of the state. V.I. Lenin did a good job in talking about the theory of the state, right? This institution that was born through the emergence of classes in society, and the need for a ruling class to be able, because he's talking about class society, which is a society based on exploitation. Somebody's getting exploited. So there has to be a means by which the exploiters, the one who are doing the exploiting, maintains the stability and the peace in that society. And this is the emergence of the state. And the state, of course, is this bureaucracy, of course, but it's also things like the military, it's the CIA, it's the FBI, it's the police, it's the prison system, the whole court system. This is the state apparatus that we're talking about. So Lenin defines this as something that happens with the advent of the dissolution of what he characterized as a primitive communist society, which from his perspective and the perspective of Marx is the thing that preceded what came to be known as slavery in Europe. He ain't talking about us, talking about Kirk Douglas. And y'all don't even know who Kirk Douglas is, so I forget. But he's, I say Kirk, that's Spartacus, which where Europeans, were enslaving each other, etc. In fact, the word slave comes from what? Slav, from this, yeah. In fact, the Slavs in Europe are looked down upon even now because of that tradition, etc. But the thing is that they recognize this, but what they don't get is that with the advent of colonialism, the colonial mode of production, it's another mode of production. It's not feudalism. Feudalism was something that existed in Europe, and what took Europe away from feudalism into another mode of production was the attack on Africa and other people. So Marx characterized this, as you know, as the primitive accumulation of capital, and he defined all this stuff that's nothing but, and he defined it a certain way because Marx couldn't see us either in a certain way, except as categories of, in many instances, as economic categories. In fact, he said that this is a category of the highest expression, something to that effect. And so the point is, however, at the moment that it moves and creates this whole world economy through this mode of production, so world economy, the concept, description of society has changed. It's no longer this feudal entity. It's no longer fiefdom someplace in Europe. The economy, the society is now a global society that's hooked up through this world economy that did not exist before, but it's parasitic because it's based on colonialism. colonial extraction from, et cetera. So what we have now in terms of the state, it's not the same state that would have happened if it were just in Europe. It's not a feudal state that combined Europe, except it's going boom, it leaps beyond Europe. And now the state is something much larger, and it's born as a state that encompasses most of the world. And now you have these instruments of state power that's created sometimes along with this process. Europe setting up, all these colonies set up, that's an extension of Europeans, that's the emergence of European state power. You got stuff now, they've gone, of course, it's got much more sophisticated, NATO and all this stuff. And then they tried to moderate the conflict between colonizers so they wouldn't have to keep killing each other, right? And that's what part of Nuremberg was all about, putting people on trial, right? Because they committed these offenses, right? That's what Nuremberg was about. It wasn't about Jews, it was about defining what was permissible with civilized white people and what was permissible. That was part of the whole project that they were involved in. And of course, and also what they did was with this, they came out of that and with this League of Nations, which was supposed to do on a universal scale, on an international scale, what the elections are in the parliamentary and quote unquote democratic processes are to do here. Facilitate a nonviolent contest. That's why they hit peace, peace, peace. It's going to be for peace. They're coming out of the first imperialist world war with the League of Nations. They talking about peace among the colonizers, because the First World War was a war to redivide the world among the thugs. The Second World War was the same thing, redivide the world. Who was getting what, that kind of, et cetera, et cetera. Even when we talk about Namibia, that was one of the big issues that was discussed in 1916 when they were talking about ending that war and creating the League of Nations. Who was going to get what part? Who was going to get Namibia? What Southwest Africa, et cetera. This is what it was about. So now you have this League of Nations, you have this cooperation among the colonizers so that we can have peace, solve problems peacefully. We don't have to kill each other over this loop. We can have a democratic process through which it occurs. And then that didn't work, although it was a US project under Wilson. What's his name? Woodrow Wilson. It didn't work because he couldn't win the Congress to it. But after the Second Imperialist World War, they had another one, a conference, and where they created the United Nations, and everybody was able to cooperate. Some of the structures and headquarters that was in the initial League of Nations are part of the United Nations structure as well. That's where the World Court and all that kind of stuff is. That was part of the League of Nations initially. So this was the thing, and then they fixed it. They rigged it so that the colonizer would always have the power. And so you have this Security Council that nothing can happen without, but everybody else can come. You can all come, you can all talk, you can all argue, et cetera, et cetera. But the security, and at that time, the Security Council was essentially white. Colonizers only. It was only later when Russia and I think China part of the Security Council. So everybody else could talk, just like now. But the colonizers made the ultimate decision. So I just wanted to say those things. I know I've overstayed my welcome. But thank you so much, comrades. This has been really good up to now. And we are going to win. And who was comrade? Was that Alvin? Comrade, we were disappointed about answer also, but we have an answer. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Comrade Alvin.